Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here to do my September book reviews for you. I thought I would record as many videos as I can today because you never know what's gonna happen the next days. I might get caught up again in work. More work as per usual. Anyways guys, let's get started with the book reviews. Let's start off with Crank by Ellen Hopkins. This is the first book in the Crank series. I really enjoyed this book, guys. I got a suggestion. Just take a few hours out of your day, get cozy with a hot drink, and you'll fly through this in no time, which I did. Crank is written in verse, which is a kind of poetry, which is really cool. Let's start off with the synopsis, what Crank is all about. Our main character is Christina. She's a junior in high school. The story begins with her setting off to meet her dad for summer vacation. Her parents are divorced. The story doesn't take off till she meets Adam, one of her neighbors. Adam introduces the monster to Christina and the plot pretty much takes off from there. First, let's talk about the characters. Let's talk about Christina, our main character. You know, Christina is your average girl. She does well in school. She has a good relationship with her sister, her brother. There's nothing particularly extraordinary about her. She's just pretty normal, but she does have this side to her she calls Bree her alter ego, and Bree is pretty much the opposite of Christina's personality. She's bold, she's flirtatious, she's unafraid, and she takes risks. And when she visits her dad for the summer and meets Adam, to see her transform into her alter ego, to see this other side of her come out, it was pretty intense and pretty raw to see Christina and how much she changes throughout the book. And it's really interesting to see how she adapts from one environment to the other. An environment she wasn't familiar with, and after summer vacation when she moves back home, it's pretty crazy to see how the monster still has a grasp on her even in this environment where you don't think it would strike. So that was pretty crazy. And as for the writing in Crank, the style of verse, I thought it was really cool. Ellen Hopkins is able to convey so much emotion in so few words, and it was intense, it was raw to see Christina's journey from the beginning to the end and how much this has affected her family and her friends and herself. Most importantly, it was like, wow, in your face. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to give Crank by Ellen Hopkins 4 stars out of 5. I really enjoyed the book. I really liked the verse format a whole lot. Just the subject matter in general. It was pretty heavy, very dark. If this was the kind of poetry that was introduced to me during school, I would have been very into it. Just a relevant subject matter. So if you haven't checked this out, guys, definitely do so. It's a very quick read. The next book review I have for you guys is The 13th Tale by Diana Setterfield, and it was a pretty crazy read. It wasn't at all what I was expecting. It was definitely a roller coaster of emotions and genres and style. It was definitely a different read for sure. So let's talk about what the story is all about. Our main character is Margaret. She's a biographer. She works at a bookstore with her father. She lives above the bookstore, which is awesome. I love the setting. She's so lucky. But anyways, Margaret, she's a biographer and she's contacted by Vida Winter to write her biography. And twist, Vida Winters is one of the most beloved, most famous writers of her time. Margaret is taken back to why Vida Winters is contacting her to write her biography. So that's pretty much where the plot takes off, guys. Let's talk about the characters. Vida Winters is known in the book for fabricating her origin story, where she came from. She always makes up a different story every time she's being interviewed. So for Margaret to be contacted by Winter to write her biography, she doesn't know why. So Margaret, although she is out of her element, she is a determined character. She's very strong-willed. She's haunted by her past. I really identified with Margaret. The love for stories, discovering the truth, finding that closure regarding your past. Next, guys, let's talk about Winter, Vida Winter. She's a tough character. She has a lot of gumption. What I loved about Diana Setterfield's writing and Vida Winter telling Margaret her story, it was very vivid. I was very immersed in Winter's story, how she grew up and how she became this famous writer. Also, what pulled me into the story were also the side characters. There's a lot of great characters within the story. The characters are mysterious, disturbing, weird, intense. It was kind of scary at times. I was wanting to know what was going to happen to all of these characters. Next, guys, let's talk about the plot of The 13th Tale. Holy crap, I was super surprised. I didn't know what to expect. As the plot progresses, there is so many genres within the story that you're introduced to. At the beginning of the book, it was definitely mysterious. As the story progressed. You know, it kind of went into that macabre, horror, gothic kind of story. It was really weird. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm starting Halloween really early. Yeah, it got really dark in the beginning of the book and kind of disturbing, which I was really surprised about. All of these different kind of genres and elements kind of spring up throughout the plot, which is pretty crazy. It kind of had a controlled chaos to it. Although there's a lot of different elements and the atmosphere kind of changed throughout the story, it lent to the storytelling aspect, which I really liked. As far as the writing goes, I thought the flow was really good. Diane Setterfield is able to write a very vivid setting, a very vivid world. You're definitely pulled into it right away. The only con that kind of stood out to me was the ending. Although the book had a very fantastical nature to it, Diane Setterfield was able to ground it, make it really relatable and down to earth. And I felt the ending kind of pushed it a bit too far with maybe the supernatural element. I wasn't feeling that all too much. And also the ending, it was a bit too conclusive for me. I felt it kind of wrapped the story a little too neatly. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to give the 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield 4 stars out of 5. Definitely enjoyed this book a whole lot. Definitely an appropriate choice for my sustained silent reading choice. It's a book I definitely would reread because there's elements in there that I was like, what? Some great foreshadowing, I think. So definitely check this out if you enjoy stories and crazy, weird, disturbing stuff and cool characters. Really interesting characters for sure. Alright, last guys is my classic choice of the month. It is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. This is one of my favorite reads that I've read this year. It's high up there with Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. As you can see here, I posted some little notes of some of my favorite quotes, parts of the book that really resonated with me. Let's get started with what this story is all about. Our main character is Frances Nolan. This really concerns her and her family growing up in Brooklyn. It was a pretty intense, emotional, very relatable, identifiable read. I really enjoyed this book a whole lot. Let's talk about the characters first, guys. I love Frances Nolan. I definitely identified with her a lot. She grew up in a family that didn't have much. Frances Nolan, she's very identifiable. She's smart. She's quick to learn. She's determined. She's hardworking. She does have her jealous streak. She's envious of her brother and her mother's relationship, what they have together. But she has this very lovely relationship with her father also, which is really great. Her brother Neely, he's just a year younger. Although he's sweet with his sister and his mother, he gets along with his boys and he's in a gang and he gets into some trouble and into some fights. You know, boys will be boys kind of stuff. Katie, the mom, I really admired her a whole lot. She did not take any charity from anyone. She earned everything she worked for, which is really cool. And she makes so much sacrifices for her family, even though it was tough for her during certain situations. She always has her family in mind and she's very honest with her relationship with Frances and with Neely. So I thought Katie was a very admirable character for sure. And Johnny Nolan, the dad, he was very sweet and loving and he loves his kids so much. He has a vice. He has his alcoholism. You read all about his battle with that and how he's trying to be a good father and be there for his family, which was really identifiable. The story is definitely grounded in reality. It's very honest. As far as the plot, guys, I love the plot so much. It's about Frances growing up in this tough neighborhood. I thought very cool neighborhood. There's a lot of cool characters in the neighborhood, a lot of cool shops. We see the struggles Frances and what her family goes through. The obstacles she has to overcome was very uplifting. You know, growing up in a similar situation and environment where you didn't have all that much compared to a lot of people and grew up in an environment where it's a little tougher than other neighborhoods. I really identified with that a lot. It was amazing, really great. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to give A Tree Grows in Brooklyn 5 stars out of 5. I really enjoyed this book a whole lot. Really related to it. There's no fancy bells or whistles to push the story forward. It's very heartfelt, very down to earth, very honest. The story definitely resonated with me because I could relate to Frances's environment and reality. It's one of those slower reads where you had to absorb every moment and everything Frances was going through and the people that surrounded her. Definitely one of my favorite reads this year. Very, very good. Love it. Love it. Those are my book reviews, guys. I really enjoyed this month a whole lot. I'll have my book and movie review for The Boy in the Striped Pajamas soon by John Boyne. Very good book also. Anyways, guys, that's everything. I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.